it is typically when we have those down on our knees moments where everything seems to be broken, or we are void of everything. There's a major change. Something big gets taken away from us. That moment is so special because it's really only then where we have this blank canvas that we can rebuild in a more conscious way. Because probably before that, we were just grabbing this thing and identifying with it and calling it me because it's what we were told to do or be, or what the cool kids were doing, or whatever. It wasn't powerfully chosen.
Welcome to another episode of Laugh Out Loud podcast. My guest today is Sara Krish. She's a bright light who has a lot of insight to share about spirit guidance, plant medicine, and energy alchemy. I can't wait for you to enjoy and learn from her transformation journey, healing journey, and for you to be in her joyful light and field. Sara Krish, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Let's begin by describing, if you can, who are you?
Who am I? Well, the word light wishes to come forward as perhaps the most prominent description of who I am. Light. I am a being here to emanate light. And then I have roles that I play in order to bring that forward. I have communities that have grown so that I can be in that purpose of sharing light. I guide yoga. I guide plant medicine ceremony. I guide humans back into their truth. And I do that through the light that I am. It's so neat to answer that question now from this space and in this way versus what I might have said many years ago, directly connected to perhaps my career. I do this 9 to 5. That is who I am. These other descriptors that just don't fit me anymore. I guess light is limitless. Light is everywhere. This is how I feel my existence here to be, is like all things, all the time. This is me. Yeah, light.
I love that. We are programmed to fit in a box, in certain boxes with labels, and they can become tight boxes and hard to fit in. So moving away from those labels and limitations, you're able to have this expansive perspective of who you are and who you are here being and doing the doingness through the beingness. I would love you for you to share your identity, sense of identity prior to this expansion. So what was the beginning of this expansion? If you can pinpoint or share a little bit of the beginnings.
Yeah, one of the most prominent moments that sticks out for me to the start of this, perhaps, at least when I became aware of it, was I was about 18. I was in my first semester of college, and I was struggling with a romantic relationship. And I had moved out of the nest, and I was on my own, so to speak, and beginning this new chapter of my life, and I was heartbroken. And my aunt, while consoling me, said, Sarah Lynn, you are here with big purpose. you will find that purpose. And it was the first moment where I really felt that light come on, and it imprinted in me. And maybe I didn't take action on seeking what that purpose was right away, but I definitely recall that moment as being a pivotal moment in my life. And so I took some time following that first semester of college to not go to school, to work, to learn more about who I am, how I navigate life with this newfound freedom of being out of the ritual of high school, the routine, the day to day. And started to move in a direction for me at that time that felt really calling for my attention, which was to enter a psychology program. And so I returned to school and dove into receiving my bachelor's in clinical and community psychology, and really felt that I had purpose in connecting to humans. I was very curious about the way that humans work. At that same time, I also had a job for a retailer in which I was in a leadership role. So I got to practice the things that I was learning in customer service as well as being a leader, working with my team. And then I continued that curiosity about working with humans and how humans work, and moved into my grad program. And that was more focused on how people come together in the organization. So knowing that we spend so much time in our career pillar and with people who are very different or very same, and how that all comes together in a steeping pot. And so I went through organizational psychology program. And then that's when I started with a new retailer, and was also in a leadership role. And they were doing business much differently. And it was Lululemon, way back before they were public. And it was this very, very sweet spot of us being business owners. And so I got to learn so much about who I was as a leader without a lot of confinement, and without a lot of traditions. Like, we were leading the way of this new love-led leadership, or very conscious way of doing business. And so that fed my curiosity about my purpose, and I learned more and more about the roles that I could play and how I show up in those roles when it comes in connection to people. And then finishing my grad school program and having this degree, I decided to stay with Lululemon and keep working through the various roles with them. And I was in a training and development role that felt so very good. And then fast forward, I ended up creating my own coaching business and went full time into working with people one on one. And then I shopped some programs around to corporations, and I had a stint of working with people in business. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. And the first thing that I did was start to connect deeper to the cancer community. And I wanted to know how I could serve them in a way that would help me heal myself, so they could both be happening at the same time. And I started seeking tools outside of everything that I had learned and everything I had practice with. And this is where I opened up to more of the metaphysical way of looking at humans, being with humans, supporting humans, and myself. Um, and then I suppose that's what brings me here today in this connection with you, and having this conversation and knowing fully what my purpose is and acting in accordance with that. And I am still in a supporting role to individuals bringing themselves home to the truth of who they are. Um,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Would you share more about your healing journey and the diagnose, since it can be a very scary moment. And it sounds like you've found your way into a more metaphysical, more energetic way of perceiving. Um, but I would love to bring light to people who are possibly going through that moment of finding out and all that comes with it. How was that for you in that moment?
I recall it being filled with fear and what felt like out of the blue. So, an extremely shocking diagnosis at 30 years old. And when I received the information, I could feel my hands coming off the steering wheel of my life because now I'm entering unknown territory. And at that time, I didn't have the depth of connection to my body that I have now. And I didn't have a lot of practice in trusting her. So my hands came off the wheel and I put all of my trust in my doctors and those people around me as they guided me into what they felt strongly to be the best path for my whole healing. And I remember a moment where people were sending resources to me left and right. And these people were from all walks of life. And so their beliefs, their thinkings, their healing modalities were a beautiful variety. And I was leaning toward some more holistic treatment plans. And I entertained that for a month or so. And I remember sharing that with those people who love me dearly. And it induced more fear. Because when we get a diagnosis such as cancer, a lot of people, although it's unfortunately more common now to have people in your household with that diagnosis, it was quite rare back then. And so a lot of panic comes in with that word. No matter the stage, no matter the diagnosis specific to the body or the organ, there's just fear and panic. So there's an urgency that just kind of pushes you down this most common healing path. And it's quite invasive. It's quite get it out now at all cost. And that for me was surgery, a partial hysterectomy, and also radiation and chemotherapy. And these are all also things that were very scary. And so I just kept saying, okay, yes. It was a out of body experience in which I fully know I was not in control or playing a role in my healing journey. But after I did their first prescribed set of healing modalities, they wanted to add a second layer of radiation. And I felt intuitively, I'm done. So there was another pivotal moment in my life where I got to feel in my body what my yes and what my no feels like. And this time, I didn't take my hands off the wheel and I felt very in charge of my healing path from that moment forward. So I would say in general, it was filled with fear. It was filled with unknowns. It was untouched territory. And so I was saying yes to everything that everyone around me thought I needed to do. And I grew extremely dim, so to speak, like felt very out of my body, very not in my light, and quite stripped of the things that made me who I knew to be me, whether that was moving my body in yoga or dance, supporting others in goal setting, whatever it was that I was so used to doing and being thrilled by was no longer there for quite some time.
Hmm. And how do you So it sounds like you had that awareness, that intuitive awareness of knowing when to let go and when to take charge of your boundaries, of your choices, and listening to that and trusting that. So when you were not feeling like yourself, not being able to be in your light, not being able to move and do the things that you normally do and you used to identify as, what is the gift? Because in a way it sounds dark and painful, in another way it sounds like, oh, I'm not this me anymore, as we were saying before, right? Everything that you identify yourself as. And so how was this transition into finding the gift through this experience that that clearly you have found and harnessed?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful question. Um, Having felt stripped away from all that was familiar and all that I identified with, what that allowed when it came time for me to put it back together, when treatment was over, when people who were very much there in support through that very visual healing process, when they started to go back to their lives, and there I was all alone, emotionally, I got to consciously choose, handpick, one by one, what I brought into my life. It took so much trial and error to learn who I was following that experience with cancer and the breakdown. In this building back up, it was meant to be done in a completely new, revised way. So, trial and error, I got to learn what felt best in this new version of me. Of course, there is a core of who I am, and she's still very much there. And then there was all this conscious choice about who gets added to that or what gets added to that, from the relationships that I had, to the practices that I brought into my day, to the foods that I ate, to the way that I looked at things or the way I was in relationship to things, my lens, everything shifted. And this is why now I understand that it is typically when we have those down on our knees moments where everything seems to be broken, or we are void of everything. There's a major change, something big gets taken away from us. That moment is so special because it's really only then where we have this blank canvas that we can rebuild in a more conscious way. Because probably before that, we were just grabbing this thing and identifying with it and calling it me because it's what we were told to do or be, or what the cool kids were doing, or whatever. It wasn't powerfully chosen. It just like happened to be. So that is the absolute gift. That who I am now was built from a foundation of conscious choice.
Hmm. So as you were rebuilding, consciously choosing versus unconsciously, automatically responding, what were the steps that led you to where you are now?
Mm-hmm. Having the proof, for example, in that moment of finishing chemo and radiation and being told, you're not quite done yet, there's more that we want to give you, and me feeling that no, and then witnessing my health, my growth, grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. I now had proof that I can self-guide. So I started to move in a way that now had more trust on my internal radar system. And then that got more and more practice, and I received more and more proof. So now my inner voice is my one and only guide, and I no longer seek external validation or affirmation or trust something that comes outside of me over what I'm feeling within. And that has been a ginormous game changer. And I feel that that is a huge component to the changing of our trajectory when we get a few proofs. Because from, such an early age where we are put along this predetermined trajectory of events, biggest example is like moving through the school, from K through 12, here is where you're going to be. And then here's probably where you're going to be for the next 4 years, and then again another 4 years, and then go out in the world and try to do it on your own.
So once you have evidence,
Yes,
then you have a renewed sense of trust.
yeah, you're no longer being told, be here, be here, be here, be here, do this, then do this, okay, check that off, do this now. We don't have a lot of experience with being self-governed. So that is where my power really activated, was through my cancer experience. And now I am in full absolute trust with her.
Feels like an exhale. Yeah, thank you for the encouragement to listen to that, to trust that. While there's so much of our attention being pulled out and telling us what to do and advices and so on. So it takes a lot of trust to listen to that and nothing else. Something is coming up here that I would love to explore with you, is that once you learn that there is a possibility of a holistic approach, which includes not only your physical experience, your physical body, your organs, but also your feelings, your thoughts, your mind, your mental state, your emotional state, energetic, spiritual state. So the whole of your beingness is taken into account when it comes to healing. And what can show up then is, oh, I'm doing it then. I am making this. I am creating this. I'm creating this cold. It's coming from me. Then there is that empowerment of the self-responsibility, also being self being responsible, and but also being able to heal with more self-responsibility, more empowerment. But then there can be also some guilt or blame or self-blame when you learn that there's nothing really outside you making you feel or causing anything within you. There is that relationship between your inner environment, your outer environment. So how did you navigate that with cancer? Did that come up at all? And what would you say to that?
Mm-hmm. I don't recall, but I can imagine that somewhere inside my sweet soul, there was a bit of, my body has failed me. What did I do wrong? Blame. Of course, a lot of questions were going on inside of me about how did this occur and how can I do it differently moving forward. And that prompted a lot of seeking beyond what I was familiar with. But I do find that 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 outcome or that result of getting an understanding that everything is in our power, meaning we must look at everything that is occurring and no longer blame anything out there, halts a lot of beings from looking with that lens. Because it can't just occur over here and over here. It's the whole of who I am is my responsibility. And it's done now for me with playful, childlike curiosity. So if I get a sore throat and some sneezes, I go in and I ask, what do you need? What is going on here? Oh, geez, I've been going and going and going and I've run you down. Let me make you this because I think I got a little bit away from you. So for me, it's fun. It's this deep listening and exploration of all the wild ways of me and all the ways that my body responds to everything that's going on. It becomes a game instead of a blame. And then I'm just very, I'm extra kind to her now, having gone through what we've gone through. And so it took many years of compassion and also forgiving if I did get any stuck into any kind of self denial or hatred or any soreness about having that experience with cancer. I understand it fully as a wonderful divine gift.
Dealing with these beautiful bodies as you're dealing with a child.
And then I'm also being very encouraged to walk the talk. It is my full belief that, for example, plants are medicine. So when I feel out of balance in my body, then I'm also being encouraged to go seek out some of Mother Nature's gifts to help bring me back into balance. When I was moving through my own healing journey, I started to seek these, as I was saying, non-traditional ways of bringing my body back into balance, bringing more joy into my heart, and feeling better. And so this led me down a really wild, windy path, being introduced to so many tools that are out there. And plant medicine wasn't in my awareness until just about 4 or so years ago. But prior to that, I had opened up to spiritual counsel. So I shifted from more traditional counseling and therapy and moved toward what I was calling spiritual counsel, because I'd opened up to the metaphysical. I'd opened up to different dimensions and receiving information in ways beyond our senses, our common senses. And I started to get a lot of questions from those around me if I had tried plant medicine yet, because it felt really in coherence with the work that I was doing. And I had to move through old stories and judgments about plants as medicine. Most commonly, marijuana, mushrooms. I saw these as drugs, and I needed to unpack all of that. So I was a no, I was a no, I was a no. And then one day on my Instagram feed popped up this amazing man that I had known for 10 years who was out of my orbit at the moment. But here he was on my Instagram feed inside an interview that he was being interviewed, talking about plant medicine. And I saw that as a beautiful sign that, one, this man that I trust and adore and feel very safe with is offering this medicine. And it's not even his Instagram page. He doesn't even do Instagram, and it somehow is right here in my face. So I reached out to him and we had a beautiful introduction call, and I got to hear from him the work that he had been doing, and it was a yes in my body. And so I sat with him And when I sat, it was a combination of psilocybin and ayahuasca. And that was my introduction. And it was a beautiful blend of grounding sensation and a bit of take me into the depths of my soul and the ether. And during that ceremony, I heard that I was to serve mushroom medicine. I also purged so much grief from my body that I came to understand was from cancer, and what cancer, I'm not in relationship to it in this way, but the best way I can say what cancer took away from me. Meaning the way that I would be a mother, the inability for me to carry my child. It was going to be different now, and I didn't really grieve that from my body. So I released a huge bout of grief, and he asked me, "What are you replacing grief with?" And I could feel all of this space in my body. And at first, I wanted to say love, but I told him out loud, I know it's something bigger and more specific than just the word love. Let me find it. And then shortly after, I received the word grace. And grace fully filled my body. I could feel it being integrated. And in the days and weeks to follow, I stayed very in tune with grace moving in me, as me, with me. And then continued to return to the medicine as I knew that I was to build a deep relationship with it so that I could facilitate these types of healing experiences for those in my community. And then there are many other beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stories that have come in the last 3 years of me building the relationship with this that just build and build and build upon all the magic that I have opened up to in the way that I see my existence here and that of humanity. And it's a very special medicine. And so I serve it, and I have witnessed so much quantum healing. And to be witness to that, I can't think of anything greater.
I'm curious, would you be willing to share some of those examples, some of those healing experiences you have witnessed apart from your
Yeah, absolutely. I always, first, I hold an integration call about a week or two after ceremony with those who sit. And I am always so fascinated to hear their stories, jaw dropping, smile from ear to ear. Even though I know the power of the medicine and the container, I am still so fascinated. And then I ask them if they wish to write something so I may share it with others. So a few notable experiences. One woman was having a lot of knee pain, and she felt that that was the source of a lot of her frustrations and challenges that were presenting in a myriad of ways in her life. She thought it was this knee pain. And so she came to get support with that. But when she was in ceremony, she realized that the source of the pain was coming from her womb. And she gathered so much beautiful insight about what she had to process still at this season in her life that was stuck. And she began that process of releasing in ceremony and in the days and weeks and now months following ceremony. So she was able to see the seed of what was deep down in her, creating a physical ailment in her body, and also creating a lot of energetic challenges for her. And with that awareness and the support of the medicine, she began to dislodge it, and it was dissolving and dissolving. And then with her tender care following that sit, she got to fully release it. And she feels the correlation with everything that is now available to her in her life, including the way that her knee feels and the way that her body is speaking to her now and showing up for her. Another one, same knee in ceremony. This man saw these healing entities being with his knee. He had ACL, torn ACL and surgery, and hadn't felt optimal for quite some time. And so this energetic healing team worked on his knee, and months later, he gave me an update that it was still feeling sensational. And then this is another physical one, but I have many other non-physical stories. But another woman that stands out, she had a lot of digestive issues, and this was for years. She came to ceremony. She started to begin this energetic release of this dense ball in her belly. She saw it as dark tar-like stuff, and she began to release it. And then the next day, she had a physical, very intense purge. And now reporting, gosh, 4 months, 5 months later, she has not had this bout of pain that she was receiving every day for years. It's completely gone. And she knows that it was just this stuck, stagnant energy that she got to let go of. So these things are occurring. And then there are the really magical, like, I got my ultimate career, my career. I found the job that I've always wanted. I opened up to receiving. I now work for the company that I always dreamed of working for. Those kinds of stories too. And then just people feeling like love, feeling better in their day to day.
Those parts of our experience that can be still hidden from our awareness, it seems like it takes diving into the darkness, let go of something so more light can shine in. And is there such a thing as darkness? Did you pick up
Yeah.
what I want to get?
Yeah, yes, I do fully believe in the polarity and the necessity of it and the duality and these things that we speak about, such as dark and light. I believe that the way that we put negativity around speaking about dark is inaccurate. I believe that they are both wonderful and necessary, and that they're always working together to bring about the greatest impact in line with love. So if we let go of our story that dark is bad, shadows are bad, we would get so many more beautiful humans up to do the work of seeking the shadowed corners of their existence, and not being so scared to look in the darker spaces. And yes, I think it's similar to that, the dark night of the soul, the down on our knees moment when we feel stripped of everything. We relate all that to kind of being in the darkness. And it is from those moments where we touch down that we get to know the light in a greater way, if I'm saying that clearly. And maybe that's because we know what it's like to be in the depths of that darkness. And for some people, it's immense grief, it's big fear, it's anger, big pain. When we feel that, we now have a touch point that we can refer to when we're then standing in the light. Like, we know that this exists, but we know that we can also get back to the light, and we are indeed okay. It makes me think of Pema Chandran's When Things Fall Apart. She speaks about that. When we are in understanding that things are constantly coming together and falling apart, then we have less of a grip on it, and we allow the dance. And we're not as fearful. We don't hold on as tight when things feel really good or when we're standing in that light. Like waiting for the next shoe to drop or the dark moment to come. We're okay with it because we know this is how light feels, this is how dark feels, and I can touch them both. And I will move forward and I will grow from it.
So it seems like there are cycles of dark and light, and each cycle you leave with more light or more awareness, with a more expanded awareness of what was there for you to learn. The only thing that holds us back from going there and seeing and leave with more understanding is some negative association with it. It seems like it's a paradox because by avoiding what we call as dark, not negative, but dark emotions such as grief, anger, fear, sadness, um, avoiding it, we also avoid the expanded amount of understanding, light, joy, love, and beauty and creativity that comes on the other side of that. What do you think? What do you think makes us avoid that? And is there something out there that we could look out for and shift? So we're not, so more people are perhaps feeling safer and encouraged to look into those so-called, dark spaces within our mind.
Yeah, it's what I've witnessed is that a lot of things are flying at me. There's many branches to this inquiry. There's that saying about, what do we fear most? It is our power. So I am such a powerful being, and somewhere inside of me, there is that remembering seed. Um, so if I dive down into the dark and I look at that which holds me back, I could be liberated and rise into my ultimate power. But my power is what scares me the most. And so I'm not going to look because I don't want to remember. There's something very deep about that. Also, we must rid ourselves of that guilt and the shame and the blame. If we are to look at the darkness, we've got to let all that go. So we don't look, because if I look and I see all of that I've been carrying around, let's say, for the first half of my life, well, then I was doing it all wrong for so long, and shame on me, so we can't look at it. We've got to let those stories go first. Got to do some reframing about what the dark is. So for me personally, when I came to the understanding that without the dark, there is no light. Without the light, there is no dark. Like, they simply exist together. If we didn't know those moments where we had the biggest challenge and we had the biggest feelings and we were in the grief, for example, if we didn't ever know that, then we could also never know the bliss and the euphoria and the immense joy that come from perhaps touching those moments and lifting ourselves up. Because so much light comes from looking at the dark. It's like I see this really dense, sticky tar-like ball of dark, and that could be in our belly. And if I never look at it, then that's just a piece of my light body that can never be expressed as light. So I'm missing out on some things, right? But if I look at that big ball, then I start to poke holes in it, and it becomes more like Swiss cheese. And then the more that I look at it and the more I care for it, then it can completely dissolve, or at least be more like an outline instead of a big dense ball. So then I am more light, and that gives me a really different experience here, closer to peace and joy. So not being fearful. Oh, and here's the other thing that was coming through is I know as a facilitator in this work of drawing people home to the truth of who they are, I bring a very soft, tender energy to healing, to the healing journey. And this is the way of the new world, right? We are moving in a feminine way. We are soft, we are tender, we are compassionate. We are moving away from healing has to be hard. Healing is a hustle. Healing is struggle. Healing is forceful. Of course, you can still choose that healing journey if that's what resonates with you. But I found early on in my healing journey that I want my healing to be soft and tender. And so I fully know and believe that it is possible. So I think that too is what prevents some people from looking into the dark, the shadows, because there is a huge collective story that healing is awful. Like, healing's the worst thing I could do for myself. I don't want to feel worse than what I feel already, so I'm not going to look. But it can be done in a really beautiful, soft, tender way.
What would you share about this pivotal period of time we seem to be going through, that we are moving out of a hustle hard masculine, get done, do more, achieve, and force, versus true power, versus feminine gentleness, love, ease, and joy, and tenderness, and laughter, and childlike approach, curiosity, and all that we all yearn for. We are really ready for it. We are all tired. And even we both men and women are, feeling it. And so in this bridge where you see it's everywhere, and we are bringing this new earth, this new approach, which we can call a higher frequency or fifth dimension perspective, right? So what would you share? Would you share some light into this bridge we are in?
Yeah. The invitations are everywhere to use discernment in every move that we make from this moment on. We are peeling away from it's no longer working for the rise of humanity. And if we continue down this path, then we are moving to our demise. So this and all the events in the last few years have really begun to bring people more online, really awaken people and have them step into their curiosity and feel into their heart space. And there are still so many tactics being done everywhere to distract us from this internal navigation and sensing system. So, with everything that's occurring out there, we are coming in to feel for truth, and really reserve our energy. Where am I allowing my energy to go is a very important inquiry in this moment. Because if our energies continue to be like octopus tentacles out there into everything, pulling away for our distraction, drawing our energies away from within, we will get depleted very fast, and we will get sick, and we will be in fear, and it will not serve us in any kind of transition. There will be no journey over the bridge. So the practice really is to come home to self, to be in our own bodies and in our own hearts, as strong as we've ever been before, and caring deeply for ourselves, and being in nature, and really quieting as much as we can, detaching, peeling back. We speak about this game, the way that I've referred to this being a game now for me, with that childlike curiosity. And that is what it is. So, like, what game do you want to play? Do you want to play the game where you're out here all the time and look at here and look at there and look at here and fear, fear, fear? Is that serving? Really harnessing our energy for something great, instead of for what has always been that's just not working anymore.
There's something great. There's something beautiful. I think we go back to that truth. You have a taste of truth. You have a taste of something that encourages you to really focus your energy inwards in what matters, and listening to that inner voice. However, for a lot of us, what I can see is so tangible and so shining and attractive. We can get innocently distracted. What is needed for us to prioritize this versus all the promises out there, the future, and the shiny objects that can distract us from the real game and the greatness that is might still be elusive.
Yeah, it's about simplifying. This message has been coming through for quite some time on my end. The guiding points for living, um, the way that we spend our days, the way we care for ourselves, everything is to be as simple as possible. And so when I say that, I really feel us returning to nature. Let nature's beauty, for example, be the most beautiful thing that you could imagine touching or being among, over something man made and material. Um, this is one way that we can bring our awareness and our attention and our time into something that is real and true and pure. Um, this is another thing that was coming through, is that in this discernment, we are discerning between what is organic and what is synthetic, what is sourced in love, what is sourced in fear, greed, power, etc. And this is how we're moving now. And so, um, when we slow down, when we come home to self, when we spend time in nature and in meditation and quiet, we're able to really use that inner radar system to discern between the two. And they may lead us into similar sensations, but I'm putting all my money on, if I move in the organic, source, love led way, that is going to sustain my peace, my joy, my bliss, my euphoria. And over here is more like a quick fix. And it will slip through my fingers in no time. And then I'll be chasing the next thing that is going to be beautiful or fill my home or, distract my energy and time and my thoughts. Organic, pure path, all the way.
Would you say it will happen spontaneously when you are even aware of the difference? Because at some point, the distraction can be so great that it's even hard to discern the quality of the food, of your clothing, of your energy, of the environment, of the conversation. And again, we go back to that. Have you even tasted the difference to discern?
I'm a believer that we all have our own soul contract and we play a beautiful role and it's all perfect. And I know for me this time around, having many lifetimes here, that I am to tune in and reside in this space of being a way shower through the modeling of my existence. And it will not resonate with the other 8 billion people on earth. And that is the way that it's structured to be. And we need to ensure that neither one is good or bad, and that nothing is better than or less than. These are all the expressions of humanness that we have signed up for. And we are equal important players in this game. Maybe I was something so very different last time I was here, and maybe I was the one that had maybe I was missing puzzle pieces. I don't know. So there are people, probably in short, to answer that inquiry, there are people here who are intentionally not meant to cross and make their way into uh, this level of consciousness, closer to, people have referred it to Christ consciousness, to source consciousness, to love, the innate purity that we are. It's just not that intention this time around.
Perceiving it all as a game. So you bring this playfulness into it all, into navigating your healing, your shadows and becoming aware of patterns, of unconscious patterns, and all this dance between breakdowns and breakthroughs. And um, where do you think a playfulness comes in?
I love when you say like childlike spirit. To me, that connects so deeply to the playfulness. So when I have something present, I want to bring that lightness to it when I establish what my relationship is to it. So we could call it playfulness, we could call it curiosity, we could call it the childlike, just essence. Instead of a very rigid, programmed, edgy, maybe pain filled, story filled lens or perspective when I establish my relationship with it. So being in this playfulness, I take it into all the things that I am presented with. Um, Lightness when I'm seeing and feeling into something, the wonder. I'm seeking a wondrous mentality when I am presented with something. It's a challenge, but again, it's a game. So it's my challenge. This is what I've chosen to do and how I've chosen to play the game. And it makes everything so much lighter and sometimes more fun and playful. Everything isn't so serious anymore.
And where do you think seriousness comes from? And if there is there is there even a place for seriousness? Because it seems there is. It seems there is. Is there a place for seriousness?
Mm, Interesting. We could probably talk a bit about what serious is, right? And what it looks like and what it means. I know where we are told to have seriousness, and now I'm curious if that is to transfer over into the love led earth, you know? Um, if you think about the littlest humans that you know and the way that they approach life, and to me nothing is so serious to them. It is all so that kind of lens and that kind of relationship. Why can we not be that way? It's, I'm not laughing at someone's pain, uh, nor am I serious. I don't use those characteristics. But if someone's presenting me with their pain and I'm space holding, then I'm holding the essence of love. And isn't that what play is? I think serious might have left my vocabulary, because I could think of other ways to describe how I show up in different scenarios, depending on what they call for. Do they call for my heart? Do they call for my solution oriented brain? What do they call for? Yeah, I don't want to pretend ever, so I don't know where I must be serious, or if I need to be in my, shouldn't I always be in my love light?
Not necessarily the duality of serious versus not serious. It's something beyond that. That is the unifying element that is light and light-hearted and just light. Not that laughing versus serious, which is a different game. It's a duality game, right? The invitation here is to move a step beyond that, where children live.
Uh-huh. That's right. Yes. Yeah. And we have the baggage. We have what we keep carrying into the next season and the next season, where young humans do not. And so they do look at everything with such freshness and all the other words that we've used that feel so good on the heart. And that is our invitation, is to pretend that we've never been here before. You know, there's another invitation that keeps telling us history repeats itself. We've got to look back to know where we're going. But I say, let that all go. We are here in this present moment, and that's all we ever have. If we stay in the past or too much in the future, we know ourselves to be living in illusions of the mind. That is all they are. We are here now, and that's all I know. And I have full control over right now. I don't have control over what was or is or something out there. I have control over right now. So I will approach it right now from love, from curiosity, with a brand new way of being here. I don't have to be shackled to anything. Oh.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Now that's also our responsibility, right? To like talking about the looking at our shadows and really caring for ourselves. It comes down to this as well. You know, it is my duty to stay as present as can be and to stop moving with impact from what was and holding judgments about it and carrying all that energy with it. And it is my duty to be so clean and clear so that I can show up with you right now in this moment, fully present in my love and my light. Now do it again and again and again and again and again. That's the game I'm playing. I mean, I'm playing it. I don't know about mastering it at all, but I'm playing it. That's exciting to me.
Oh, the present is always beautiful. There's so much beauty in it when we approach it fresh, and this dance of letting it go and letting it be, and then letting that flourish the way it is. It's a fun game. Thank you for playing with me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime I would play this game of life with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything you feel like sharing before we wrap up?
You know, it just feels very special to remember having all this conversation, which I feel divinely led us right here to this final moment of, you know, all this talk about light and living in love and releasing and being able to look at our shadows and being in the now moment. And it's like, why are we playing this game? Why are we doing all of that? And I really believe that it comes down to, we all wish to feel deeply liberated in our expression. While I'm here on earth, I want to move so freely. And it is in the present moment that allows me this freedom and liberation to live out loud, to live fully expressed without holding anything back. And in order for me to be there, I must look at my shadows and I must tend to what has stuck to my ribs. And I have to strum up the compassion or the forgiveness or whatever it is. I have to have the bravery and the courage to look at the truth of who I am and everything that has brought me here to this moment and then release it. So through that process of going in, seeing what has been stuck, letting it go, then I come to this very present moment, and this allows me the gift of being here now, being here now, being here now, being here now. And so now when something arises and it feels like a twinge in my heart, in that now moment, I get to breathe it out. So it's like, go in, do all the gardening, do the deep digging, do all that big work, and now show up again and again and again and again. And that changes the game. That changes the way that we are here as humans on earth. No longer are we living with all of that has been, but we're actually right here. And this is the only place that pure love, bliss, euphoria, ecstasy, peace reside, is now. It can't possibly reside while all of this is stuck all over, right? Like those dense balls in our body. I'm not reaching my ultimate light body, if that's how I would describe it. So,
Amen.
liberation.
Yeah, with tenderness, patience, And doing it again and
Mhm.
again and again.
To be that beautiful caretaker of self.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And if someone feels called um, to contact you, to reach out and to um, have the privilege of being in your field, what would you recommend?
I would love a good old email. I would love an email. Hello@sarakrish.com. That would be wonderful. I would love to receive a love note in my inbox.
Sweet, sweet. Thank you very much.